they'll be used.
Hi, I'm Scott Higginbotham, NASA's mission manager for STS-127, flight of the remaining 2 Kibo elements to the International Space Station. We're here today in the KSC Space Station Processing Facility where the 2 Kibo elements were prepared for launch. They're currently in Endeavour's payload bay, ready to fly, but this is where most of the work took place, getting them ready to go fly. We have 3 primary payload elements that we're launching on STS-127, or as we in the International Space Station program call it, Mission 2JA. The first is the Integrated Cargo Carrier, or ICC, and that cargo carrier is carrying up 9 different large spare parts for the exterior of the space station. These are all U.S.-provided spare parts, and they will be deployed on the station for use. Additionally, on this mission, we have the 2 Japanese elements. We have the Exposed Facility, or EF, and the EF will be mated permanently to the Japanese pressurized module, where it will serve as a platform to perform experiments out in the vacuum of space. Also on this mission, we have the Japanese Exposed Section, which is basically a carrier that will be used to take to space 3 large payloads that will then be mounted to the EF during the mission, and then it will return home. In mid-May, we installed all 3 of the primary payload elements into our transportation canister using the cranes here in this facility. After all 3 were in the canister was moved to another facility here at KSC called the Canister Rotation Facility, where the canister was lifted up from a horizontal orientation and placed in a vertical orientation for delivery to the pad. Then, after a substantial weather delay, we delivered that canister to the pad, hoisted it up into the Pad A service structure, and then ultimately transferred those 3 payloads from that structure into the orbiter Endeavour for launch. The Integrated Cargo Carrier was prepared by Astrium North America. They are a subcontractor to NASA, and they did the work on the Integrated Cargo Carrier down at their facility in Port Canaveral, Florida. It took them about a year to prepare that cargo carrier for flight. The 2 Japanese elements were prepared by a variety of Japanese contractors. NASA helped after the hardware arrived here, but the bulk of the work was done by the Japanese Space Agency and their contractors here in Florida. Now, the work on these 2 elements began many, many years ago. Unfortunately, due to a series of delays, this hardware has been on the ground for quite some time. So the work really has been spanning almost a 10-year period getting these 2 Japanese elements ready for launch. ISS Mission 2JA, or STS-127, marks the conclusion of the assembly of the Kibo Japanese experiment module. There are 3 permanent large pieces of Kibo. This mission is carrying up the last piece, the Exposed Facility, that will stay behind as a permanent piece of the International Space Station.
Thanks, Scott, for taking the time to describe Endeavour's mission and payload to us. Now, I'd like you to meet the dedicated astronauts who will take part in this demanding mission. Mark Polanski will command Endeavour, and Doug Hurley will serve as the pilot. Mission specialists are Christopher Cassidy, Tom Marshburn, Dave Wolf, Tim Copra, and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Julie Payette. The mission will deliver Copra to the station as Expedition 19 flight engineer and science officer, and return Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Koichi Wakata to Earth. Hurley, Cassidy, Marshburn, and Copra will be